today and get 20,000 naira bonus airtime. Visit any MTN center near you to begin.
Mommy, where are you going? MTN Experience Center, of course. You think it's only you that like good tea, eh?
Terms and conditions apply.
Nigeria is being described as the showcase of democracy.
So let's establish a simple truth.
Now, listen, my society is underdeveloped because of an alien system on our people.
Talk politics on Smooth 98.1.
This is Talk Politics on Smooth 98.1. You're welcome back. So don't forget, you can also be part of this conversation as we progress on the show. Be sure to get us your call at some point on 014489981 will be the number for you to reach us. And of course, there can also be time for us to read your WhatsApp messages on 0809444091 will be the number for you to also send us those messages. That said, let's quickly say a big welcome to our guest for today. We'll be discussing awakening local governments, that's the political versus financial autonomy in Nigeria for this arm of government. And so today, joining me to have a smooth discussion will be Joseph Obari, is a journalist. First, that's his constituency, then a lawyer, a communications specialist, and also a public affairs analyst based in Abuja. Good morning, Obari.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Omatseye. Thanks so much.
All right, glad to have you. How's the base today in Abuja? The Hamilton, how's it treating you over there?
It's a bit crisp here now, a bit dustier than before, but it's good. We're okay.
We wish you could export some to Lagos, but what can we say? It's okay.
I wish so too.
Okay, so let's get on to this conversation. Awakening local government probably seem like they're sleeping. So that's from what we see in the topic today, political versus financial autonomy. Give us a sense of the constitutional background. First, we cannot understand what it should be if we do not know the ideal situation from the Constitution. Take us into that, the background, constitutionally speaking.
Yeah, constitutionally speaking, the 1999 Constitution is amended and it's still being amended, actually created three tiers of government: the federal, the state, and the local government. Against some arguments people have made that, oh, there are only two tiers of government, through federalism and all of that. It's actually a constitutional creation that we have a third tier of government in Nigeria, and a plethora of decided cases by the Supreme Court to back that we have a third tier of government. So the local governments in Nigeria are actually a creation of the Constitution, and nobody can deny that fact. By Section 7 of the Constitution, this arm of the government, or the level of the government, was created by the Constitution, and it gives it specific functions. The Constitution didn't just create that tier of government and leave it, but it actually specified what they should do. So, for instance, they're supposed to maintain primary education, education, all of that level of education is supposed to be, and that is, I think, to an extent, primary health too falls under that division. Develop agriculture and natural resources, except minerals, of course, and then name streets, refuse clearance, numbering houses, providing and maintaining public conveniences, and all those kind of services, registration of dead, bed, of course, celebrate marriages too. Like local government is meant to celebrate marriages, even until recently when the federal MDA started challenging them and wanting to take over that role. But it's a constitutionally guaranteed power of the local government to be able to celebrate marriages. So in all the local governments, they're actually supposed to be marriage registries where people can go and celebrate marriages. Then, of course, they can also monitor health, provide monitoring services for inspection. for instance, for health, those running eateries and restaurants and such things like that. And also some level of control on alcohol, and they can put these rates and all that charges on some of those things. And of course, you know, the famous radio licenses and all those kind of things. There are also sources of revenue to the local government. So these things are clearly defined in the Constitution, and it's not just out of the air that local governments are operating in Nigeria, but they are a creation of the Constitution.
Now, if this is what it is constitutionally speaking, how did it become, if something is so clearly spelled out in the Constitution, at what point did the local government wake up one day like they were going to say the prayers? When they opened their eyes, they became so moribund and they became emasculated from their constitutional responsibilities. Looking at some of the functions you've reeled out, the only thing I can see basically, and anyone listening right now would say maybe they can still celebrate marriages. Else, every other thing is gone with the winds already.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. It did just happen one day. It was a gradual process of erosion of the powers of the local government by state administrators. Right from the military time, we had seen incursion into the powers of the local government by the fact that, of course, the state and military administrators or governors or whoever, both elected and non-elected, had always had power to be able to decide what happened at that level. So, but then the military themselves did a lot better, because during the period of President Ibrahim Babangida, they actually wanted to solve that problem. So they scrapped all the ministries of local government across the country and took them all out, just to make sure that the bureaucratic processes that are holding down local government are gone. In fact, it was under the military they even set up the Dasuki Commission of 1976 to begin to develop look into the administration and strengthen that level of the council administration and so on. So these are steps that have been taken. So, the situation got worse ironically, with the enactment of the 1999 Constitution. I mean, people have called that Constitution all kinds of names. They've said it's not the People's Constitution, it was all those things I think to reflect in this whole thing we're seeing that's happening. Because the first thing was that the crafters of that Constitution had used some loose phrases in determining what the Constitution and what the rules of the Constitution should be. The source of that problem is actually Section 162 of the Constitution. You know, even as amended, amendment is still going on, because the subsection uses words like loose phrases on such terms and manners as the governor's state will see. Those are,
yes.
it leaves a whole lot of room to interpretation.
Now that
on such terms and manners
yes.
as the state government may. If you're talking it allocates, it says, okay, that should be funds for the local government, state should disburse funds to them, but it now says on such terms and conditions and manners as that gives a lot. It's a gap. It's a huge gap. That
now that you've taken us, Obari, you've taken us into the conversation proper. Now that's where they say if you're looking for the eye of the fish, you are going to the head, not to the tail. So now you're giving us that section already, 162, and the vexatious things you're talking about can be found around subsection 5, 6, and 7. That's where the problem lies right now. So good thing the amendment has been on, but it's one thing to know that there is a problem, and then the other thing is let's address it. Now, in the process of amending it, why is it taking so long for what you call the state governments now to agree to this and say, okay, we've kept this arm, this tier of government down for so long. It is time for us to liberate them. Why is it difficult to let them go and let the houses of assembly, just do the right thing. As we speak, as at the last time I checked before we came on the show, we just had about 8 states. Delta is seeming to be one of them. I think Kogi, Kano, but Lagos isn't one of them, incidentally, and about 28 others. What is it about the local government that these state governments are afraid of?
Oh, well, I mean, it's obvious. You have a pot of honey that you're enjoying. They're going to take it out for your hand. And you naturally want to fight back. And so we've seen all sorts of campaigns against this autonomy of local government. Governors have come out outrightly to fight against it. They've gone to court. They have challenged the executive order of the governor, of the president, that granted autonomy. I think that was in 2020. They didn't like it. They went to court. They lost the case, but they are not happy. Now, look at the situation where governors virtually handpick those who make up houses of assembly. And you can say across the country, most governors actually determine who are members of the House of Assembly. So they can dictate to the local, to the state houses of assembly what happens. Now you are going through a process of amendment of constitution. The constitution requires that such amendment must be concurred to by the concurrence of the local government, of the state houses of assembly. Otherwise, it can't fly. So naturally, you expect that the governors may want to put pressure on their assemblies to see how they can undo this whole process. Because, I mean, the president painted a graphic picture of how this whole thing goes. You know, they give a local government chairman, the allocation is 100 million. You sign that you have collected 100 million. The governor takes 50 million. And he says it's a personal experience. So he just say what he says. But maybe it's just knowing it. We have always known that that's what happens anyway. As citizens of Nigeria, we've always watched and seen that the allocation to local government is just another pot for governors to help themselves. So when you now want to take that away from them, it becomes an issue.
Okay, Obari, we are due for a break. When we come back, we'll get into this issue of counterclaim, the claim and the counterclaims with the governors shortly. Stay with us. It is still Talk Politics on Smooth 98.1. Stay tuned.
My line of work, I can't afford any downtime. Sometimes I wake up and my calendar is light. A few moments.
I was not noticing.
Don't worry.
Tonight, like, but I'm not complaining because I've got rockstar energy drink to fuel my grind. Oh, I'm trying to play by the way.
Let's go.
I can still hear your. No, I can hear your bed.
Everyday hustle. Life is your stage.
It just went off now.
Energy drink.
Paris hoping all your dreams come true in everything you do. Season's greetings from all of us at Page Financial.
Risi, where's your sister?
She's in the bedroom.
Oh, yeah, call her for me.
Baka, mommy is calling you.
Hey, Risi, Joe, please buy me chill drink from Dogo.
Dogo, you there outside? I beg, help us bring one chill drink, come.
Risi, sorry, please check if it's your daddy that's at the door. You that your line had been blocked. How did you get the credit that you're using here?
I linked my NIN to my MTN line and got 20k free airtime.
Yes, so link your NIN to your MTN line today and get 20,000 Naira bonus airtime. Visit any MTN center near you to begin.
Mommy, where are you going?
MTN Experience Center, of course. You think it's only you that like good tea, eh?
Terms and conditions apply.
Nigeria is being described as the showcase of democracy.
So let's establish a simple truth.
Listen, my society is underdeveloping because of an alien system on our people.
Talk politics on Smooth 98.1.
Let's still talk politics on Smooth 98.1. We can have your contributions now. You can call us up on the phone line 014489981. Today's topic, awakening local governments, political versus financial autonomy for this local government. And my guest joined me all the way from Abuja, the nation's capital, Joseph Obari, a journalist, a lawyer, and a communications expert. Obari, if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, so before we went on that break, so we'll wait for the calls to come. If they come in, we could just pause you for a while and then get the calls in. But let's get into this one. You talked about how the local governments seem to be like what you call a pot of honey, and these state governors don't want to let it go. And then you touched on the executive order by the president and how the governors have gone ahead to challenge it, and then they lost the case. This brings me to that the famous comment by President Buhari, what many would say, there are days when he gets this, what you call blunt moment, and then he just says it, and then whatever you like, take it like that. That's it. No apology. But my own reaction to this is a follow-up question to that comment. Barely 24 hours or so later, we had two governors, two friends apparently, or two comrades in the trenches right now, political trenches, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State and Samuel Otom in that state, during the commissioning of a project, and then they swore in public to say they've never pilfered, they've never touched local government funds in their lives. In fact, these things we are doing, they should be doing. So they said, send ICPC or send till date, nobody. Then 2 days, about 24 hours later, the NGF, the Governors Forum, made a collective defense saying they've never done that. Really? Do you really feel these guys will pass the lie test by licking their elbow if they've never touched the local government funds before?
Already jumped the broom.
Okay. So this is, yes.
Okay, because in Nigeria, what we fear are those our traditional methods of swearing. So maybe if they will take that, drag that there, they may not survive. The truth is simply that it's before our very eyes. We've seen that the local government development in local government has falsified. There is not much happening in local government. And just like you said, apart from maybe a few things that they are doing, pay salaries and all that, there's really nothing happening in the local government. I know of a time when local governments were competing on construction of roads, capital projects. So you see what this local government has done, they've compared with the other one has done. Not to talk about the early days. I mean, like when I was a child in the 70s, they told us of what the counties did. You know, the local government then were called counties. But I grew up to meet some of the traces of those activities of local government. There was never a pool of water on our roads. These roads, even the roads that were not paved at that time, the drainages were like carved out of the soil, so that water drains off the road so perfectly. And it was done by local government. We are paying people to cut the grass on the shoulders of the road, whether paved or not. It was something I grew up to see. So today everything is in a shambles, and you want government wants to tell us, oh yeah, okay, so we are not touching the money. So who is taking the money? Where is the money going? The president partly answered the question by saying that after the governors have taken theirs, the local government chairman pay the workers and pocket the rest. So whatever else is left, because if your boss has already put his hand in the case, what stops you from taking? He cannot shout, he cannot do anything. So you take your own and you go. So if they pay, so they make sure that the local governments are simply just functioning, just barely functioning by paying the workers and ensuring that the workers, because if they don't pay the workers, they go on strike. So just to keep them alive, that string that supplies blood to the local government, it just kept just alive, like on life support. So whom are we deceiving?
Now that you mentioned it, you just given me a cue to the next question because you said the word strike. Now that brings me to the threat by the local government union in Nigeria, NOGE, via their chairman, Ambali, he said they are ready for a grand showdown. From next week, first they want to see the president, and then they would shut down the local governments across Nigeria in order to get this autonomy they're asking for. But why must we always employ the strike options when we can sit around the table to jaw instead of war every time?
The governors haven't made it such that they are open to negotiation. Otherwise, they won't be throwing the tantrums they're throwing. I mean, if you're out to do what is right, you just naturally do it. I mean, people will see you to do it. It's not a matter of what your rhetoric is. I mean, it's a matter of your action, what you can do. It's not what you say, but what you're doing. That's the key thing. So when the governor say one thing and they act a different way, then it calls to question what their sincerity. Yeah. So if that is the only weapon available to these workers, they will use it, just like the judicial workers did. The same executive order that the governor snubbed for the autonomy of local government was also executive order that covered autonomy for the judiciary. So now what are the governors doing at the judicial level? In the state, they have pocketed the judiciary. They dispense money and favor to the judges because they need them for their political expediency. So I know of states that have built estates for judges. They give them cash, specific car gifts, and so on and so on. And then so now, and the cases, political cases, go before these judges who are also employees of the state judiciary. So now, if you
why does one name why does one governor's name seeming to be ringing in my head without you even saying it? But anyway, go ahead.
So now so that's the point. So now this same thing is a tool the workers have to use to employ to get these people to serious. And then of course we all support them to that. We supported the judicial workers there. Those of us in the NBA, we backed them, we said they should go ahead and do that, because while the judges are enjoying all the largesse from the governors, the unseen workers, the judicial workers, we're not getting anything. So the same thing will happen in the local government, where the chairman and the personnel management and all those people are sharing the largesse. The workers of the local government who are supposed to render services apart from their salaries, they are supposed to, you can't expect they should be happy if you go to office and you can't render the basic service for which you are being paid. Some people have conscience enough to say it's not fair. So let the local government be able to function. It's for the good of this country. And of course, pressure will be taken off the center and the states. And of course, if everybody is, there's some local government, they can't even park refuse. They can't even maintain sanitation of the local government. Is that bad? They don't even have sanitation trucks. So what are we talking about? So if that's the only language they understand, the workers will use it. But right now they've secured 16 states, and the number needed is 24. We still have about 16 states to decide on this matter, and we want to believe that they will be sane enough to do the right thing. At least 8 out of the 16 will be sane enough to do the right thing. Whatever the excuses of those who voted against it, and Lagos, for example, we say, oh, because they already had done their own local government amendment law.
Lagos got 20 local governments, and then they broke up into LCDA. So for them, you can see that they are way ahead.
So they kind of have an excuse. Adamawa and Nasarawa, perhaps there are things that I learned that they are squabbling over whether they should have they can give them financial autonomy, but they don't want to give administrative autonomy to the local government. And I can understand that from the legal point of view. If you say I'm in charge of local government, and states are given that power to create local government, and they are answerable to the houses of assembly and all that, then how do you want to give them administrative autonomy? But I think instead of voting against administrative autonomy of the local government, what should be pursued is to define what that autonomy means. It does not mean that the local government chairman cannot be queried, because the state house of assembly will still have powers over him up to some extent, So these are the constitutional issues we need to trash out. There are gray areas, but we can clear them as we go on.
Now that you mentioned it, you see, we just seem to be rolling in a textbook fashion from what's the conversation, the way it's flowing. Yeah. Now you mentioned autonomy, which is where we're going to get to. So it's just proper for us to just trash it here and now. Whenever this word autonomy is mentioned, jitters, gets down the spine of the state governors and people who should act on this issue, basically. So that brings me to two issues. This joint account thing between the state and the states and the local government. Yeah. This holy union, how can we break it? And then this tenure of local government, who has the power to address it?
Yeah, of course, the State House Assembly has the power to decide what happens in the local government, because they actually are empowered. So there's a law in each state that talks about what happens in local, and the Constitution gives that power over to the House Assembly to take that control over the. So there is no independence at all. Our total independence, like the states are not independent of federal government. So why should they be afraid of that autonomy? Autonomy is defined because there's some level of freedom you should allow these people to exercise. Just like the federal government cannot just go and sack a governor.
We are due for a break once again, but then we'll still stay on the theme of the autonomy when we come back, and then gradually begin to wind up. Thank you so much. Stay on the line. Let's still talk politics on Smooth 98.1.
Love music, love life. Smooth. Rissy, where's your sister?
She's in the bedroom.
Oh, yeah, call her for me.
Mommy's calling you.
Hey, Rissy, Joe, please buy me chill drink from the.
Let's check for the other thing. What's it called?
Outside.
The
help us bring one chill drink.
WhatsApp.
Rissy,
check
sorry,
WhatsApp for me.
Please check if it's
Let's see if there's anything there. If there's anything, we'll check it now.
You that your line had been blocked. How did you get the credit that you're using?
I linked my NIN to my MTN line and got 20K free airtime.
Yes, so link your NIN to your MTN line today and get 20,000 Naira bonus airtime. Visit any MTN center near you to begin.
Mommy, where are you going? MTN Experience Center, of course. You think it's only you that like good tea, eh?
Terms and conditions apply.
One man knows Nigeria, understands the people.
Can we use the phone, studio phone, instead? If that
Okay.
doesn't work, let's go to studio phone.
His capacity to navigate numerous industries towards growth and expansion is tested and trusted. No one needs to show Atiku Abubakar how to move Nigeria forward.
Anything?
Challenges.
No.
No problem.
He
Works.
already has a sure plan. A strategist, an entrepreneur, and job creator. Atiku Abubakar knows Nigeria, knows our people, and knows the world. Atiku, for sure.
Informed by the PDP Presidential Campaign Council.
When I finish downloading the show like this, I will go straight to Tayo's house to eat jollof. Then enjoy this movie on YouTube. It's just that Tayo will now start disturbing me to turn on my Wi-Fi for him when he can easily enjoy data bonus with MTN for me. With MTN for me, you will get 100% data bonus and discounted data bundles just like that. What are you waiting for? Dial *121# to get started with MTN for me.
Nigeria is being described as the showcase of democracy.
So let's establish a simple truth.
Now, listen, my society is underdeveloping because of an alien system on our people.
Talk politics on Smooth 98.1.
And so we are back once again on the show. It's still Talk Politics, and today, awakening local government, political versus financial autonomy. Joe Obari is still in Abuja, getting the questions and breaking them down for us. We really appreciate your time. So before we went on that quick break, you talked about, being able to do this, and that's about autonomy, why the government, the state governors are afraid of it. But there should be nothing to be afraid of if they don't have skeletons in their cupboard. Yeah. Now, this leads me to the next question of, there are 774 local governments in Nigeria. There are 36 states in the country.
Yeah.
In each of these states, you understand that the state capitals are domiciled in a particular local government. That's just what it is. So,
yeah,
proponents are already arguing that if this is what it is after all, we're just recreating Abuja is just, the federal government is just occupying a local government somewhere, and that is it. So we recreate the same system that develops the local government. So proponents are already arguing that it is time to scrap the state governments and let's have federal and local government. What say you, Obari?
It will be, the truth simply is that there is so much the federal government can do, because it cannot get down to the people. It needs this stepping down. It's like, let's use the power generation, for example. The power that comes out of the of Kainji Dam, if they send it straight to your home, it will burn down your house. It's so much that you need to step it down in grades. So you step down to the substations, to transmission stations, and it eventually gets to your transformer that steps it down further for you to be able to use it to iron your clothes, to boil water, and so on. So it is also with the federal government and the other tiers of government, because it is so far removed from the people in that sense, without this stepping down that the state provides and local government. And the closest to the people, the so-called ordinary people, is the local government. Now, if you stop them, you will find out that there are so many things that will be lacking, because let's take, for example, Federal Ministry of Education. What can it handle without breaking down the activities? Right now, their hands are full. They have to manage all the unity schools. They have to do this, they have to do that. So you now add all the primary schools, all the secondary schools in Nigeria. So that, what ministry how are you going to run it? They can't do it. They cannot do it. It's simply, all these noises we're hearing about autonomy that are generated, we are just hearing it's the hands of Esau and the voice of Jacob. It's all generated by the governors. It's the governors that are whipping up paying all kinds of campaigners to discredit this whole process. So we are not sold on those things. It doesn't make any sense. There is nowhere in the world you just have a central government that runs everything. It simply can't work. It's not feasible.
That's the central working, if really the local government is the grassroots, and that's where the bedrock of because if all of, just to take you back a bit, there was this comment made by the Minister of Minister of State for Finance when he said that the present administration's social welfare program has failed in a way, has failed to permeate the grassroots because the local governments, the state governors are not keen into it. So if you don't have state governments and you are dealing directly federal to the local government, which is the grassroots, wouldn't there have been a more direct impact?
And that's what this whole constitutional amendment tries to address. That yes, you may have some level of control over what happens at the local government, but we should be able to deal directly with the local government on some things and give them the power to do certain things, to run and fulfill their constitutional obligations and responsibilities. So in a way, we are simply just addressing that issue. Yeah, so like you said, most of the local governments that are situated in the state capitals are almost redundant. If you, I mean, for instance, in River State, the state government takes care of sanitation, which is the duty of the local government. Because if you elect it to local government, they can't do it. And in fact, the governors that use this as justification to say, you see, if not that we are doing it for them, they won't do it. But the point, the argument is like which comes first, the chicken or the egg? The point is, if you give them the money, would they be able to do it? Let's give them the money to do it, and if they don't do it, you can now supervise them. But don't say that. So the argument actually supports the need for the autonomy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Obari, we have to go now because the time is fast spent, and so we hope that someday we will be knocking on your doors once again, Abuja. We hope Abuja would answer us when we call you once again to come on the show.
Anytime.
But I also failed to also tell the listener that Obari is also an avid golf player. So aside from communication and public analysis, you get to find him on golf courses. So what lesson from golf do you think that the government at different levels can take in addressing some of these issues?
Well, golf is said to be a game of life.
Yeah.
And one of the key elements of every golfer exhibits is integrity. Because it's a self-regulated game. I am playing, I'm supposed to declare my score, honestly, to the person who is marking me, and I'm marking that other person. So you find that there's the kind of thing we are talking about, some level of independence, collaboration, and so on. But then be honest enough to be yourself and who you are. So that's a lesson that we can take from there.
We really did enjoy our time with you today. Thank you so much, Joe Obari.
Thanks so very much. So much. My joy.
And we want to say
thank you very much for joining us.
All right,
it was great. And hopefully,
thanks very much.
We hope these governors will allow the local government to work.
Honestly, they need to do that.
Okay,
we're
so
all watching them.
All right, Afolabi, you have to say your goodbye now.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Joe Obari. And Omaz, we hope by next week we will have something different to talk about.
Yes.
In the scene of politics.
All right. So this is where we have to say goodbye. Thank you so much. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Have a great day and keep listening to Smooth 98.1.
Why are you serious for this?
Can we end the listen?
What?
Thanks. I appreciate you greatly, Sir Obari. Thank you so much. Thank you. Stop the listen recording.
Okay.
Thanks everyone on YouTube. We appreciate you. Bye.
Has it ended?
Yes. Thank you. You've not ended.
You can also get
Okay.
10% extra on top every airtime recharge when you recharge.
You're not.